Welcome to Bookies Predictions, our monthly look at what the markets and what the bookmakers are saying will be the final outcome for the 25-26 EFL Championship table. It's a brilliant exercise to do. We update it each and every month, and as much as we love your maybe more emotionally led forecasts as to what is going to be happening, these people really have financial skin in the game rather than just emotional skin in the game. So a really good barometer to look at alongside our more anecdotal views about the EFL Championship. Plenty to talk about in this one. Normal admin before we start. We're going to go from bottom to top of the table. We track the same company every time we do this list, and we build our table based on the price to win the division outright and work backwards. From there, we're going to get in, starting at the bottom. But before we do that, please do hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel if you are enjoying this video and want to be recommended more of the same. Down at the bottom of the championship, what's new? One team's going to escape, and two teams that the market wouldn't commit on are about to appear in the bottom segment. And there we go. We've had to go with a bottom five here this time because of a tie just a little bit further on up in the list. And you will not see Blackburn Rovers. They were in the bottom segment of this last time. Not only were they in the bottom segment, but the market had Blackburn getting relegated last time. They are not there, and we finally have a commitment now on Sheffield United and Norwich. It had been hedging of the bets in terms of Norwich and Sheffield United finances, expectations, where we thought they were going to be in the hierarchy, but they are just not budging from this here period in the table, and the market has moved and sucked them down, and Norwich, as we'll get into, are tied as the third team to be relegated to League One. Now, not much to say about Sheffield Wednesday. The odds have lengthened, and we should make a general point about the odds here. In this particular list, there has been a big move in terms of backing in a certain team at the top of this list, which has moved them into such a position which then has pushed literally the entire league slightly away. So the odds are a little bit less pertinent this time than I think the actual position in the table. But you'll understand what I'm saying right at the end of this video on that one. Sheffield Wednesday obviously have gone into administration since we last did this. But look, they have been 24th basically through from August now. So in each of the last four videos, Sheffield Wednesday have been 24th, and basically right the way through since June, Oxford have been backed to be relegated down to League One. In fact, they only came off the bottom in August due to the absolute carnage that was going on at Sheffield Wednesday. So it's been a long kind of theory that Oxford will be relegated come what may. The market is predicting that, even if the current league table doesn't necessarily. It's been a bad little run for Portsmouth. They dropped down 2 places from, being safe last time. And it's a difficult one because we've got them tied 21st. But what we're saying is the market right now says it's Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford, and one of Norwich and Portsmouth. Portsmouth drop is less severe than Norwich's. They've dropped down 8 positions for reasons that are obvious to everyone that we'll go into in just a jiffy. But yeah, Pompey, bad run. Tough fixtures, I'll give them that. But they have been drawn down. And I think certainly Blackburn's move out has not helped Portsmouth. And yeah, Norwich, I think everybody understands why. For the most part this season, Norwich 8th, 7th. They even moved where at the start of August, back to 8th, into 13th last month. And yeah, it's still last month, you could have had, as we went into this latest block of 6 games, we were at round 9 when we last did this, and we're now at round 15, and it's got from bad to worst. So you can imagine there's been a big doubling down on Norwich in the wrong direction, given that's where they have been travelling, and Norwich currently without a manager. I'm sure there'll probably be a bit of a move the other way when a new manager is employed. People will think there's value in Norwich rising up the table, but right now it is a drop of 8 places, for the Canaries. They are joint with Portsmouth to take that 3rd relegation place. And we finally have a move on Sheffield United, and this is even more pronounced than Norwich over the long term. Over the short term, they have dropped 7 places, so 1 fewer than Norwich. The market hasn't tied them in there with Norwich and Pompey. They're just slightly ahead, 1 place higher in the table. But, I mean, my God, in June, even as late as July, Sheffield United were 3rd favourites to win the Championship. Now, if we had coupled them up with Norwich and Portsmouth, they would be, in the 3rd relegation place, albeit tied with 3 teams. And they have dropped like a stone. And I kind of get the slow move. A, because they scored 92 points on pitch last season and lost quite unluckily in the playoff final. And B, because there hasn't been that big a change under Chris Wilder. I think they've moved to just over a point per game. There might even be 10 points from 10 games under Wilder, something like that. So it's only been a bump, essentially, from abject 0-point form under Sellers to 1 point per game survival form under Chris Wilder. I think I'm right in saying that, but the broad point stands, even if I haven't got the minutiae correct. There is your bottom 5. The market, the bookies say, Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford, and one of Norwich or Portsmouth will be going down. Let's go to the middle order. We're going to do 6 teams here. We've got 3 fallers and 3 risers. Let's get into it. And we're going to start with a couple of big fallers. And that is QPR and Swansea. QPR's fairly easy to explain. They have dropped they were tied up in 10th last time out. And they've obviously just had a terrible run, haven't they? And what we do have now with QPR is bad run, extremely good run, bad run, and kind of now the extremely good run feels like the outlier when it comes to QPR, doesn't it? So they have hodgepodged all around. 20th, 19th, 21st. And yeah, you can see it's an outlier because then they jumped to 10th and now they're back down again. So that run of 14 points in 6 games following the horrible 7-1 at Coventry is being seen as an outlier. I mean, it just is. You're not even seeing it as an outlier. Just if you look at the data, it is. Swansea are another team. We've already mentioned Norwich without a manager. 4 teams at time of recording are looking for a new manager. So I haven't been tracking it completely infinitely and granularly. I only just check in once a month when we do these videos. But I'd imagine that might have dropped even in the last week, given Swans. Well, they get 1 point in the final week, I think, and Alan Sheehan has now been taken out of commission there. So Swansea, where had they been before? 11th, 12th, 13th, 10th, a little boost, and then they dropped down with QPR. Remember, when we get a big drop, that's normally as well because a few teams we're about to mention have moved ahead of them. And let's look at those teams. We have Blackburn, who were being backed to be relegated last time. They were 22nd. It's been a big jump up for Rovers. And in a 6-game block of fixtures, if you do 3 wins in a row, which is what Rovers did, you will move pretty quickly. People will start throwing money at the fact that you're not going to go down after all. And teams that get relegated don't tend to win back-to-back games, let alone 3 in a row. And I guess that is the quick thinking with Blackburn, and that does not help QPR and Swansea in their big drops. Derby, again, is obvious. They're moving slowly in this table with the bookies, but they're moving very quickly in the actual league table because they've won 5 games on the trot. As you can see, the market will move slower than that and look for a longer term pattern. But Derby are in great form on pitch, and yeah, the money is going to follow them, and the market is going to follow them, and the odds are going to follow them if we get any kind of continuation. Obviously, you know, if they did what they've done in the previous 5 games, in the next 5 games, they're going to be record-breaking 10 wins in a row, aren't they? Which is unlikely, but even a small drop-off, they're still going to be really, really moving in the right direction. Derby. So all of those 3 teams particularly don't help QPR and Swansea. Neither do Charlton, who I don't even want to say over the last 6 games have had a good run. They've been very consistent for a long time now, Charlton. I think, is it 1 defeat in 10? I'm trying to remember my hot takes video from, seems like a long time ago, from Sunday. But Charlton don't lose many games and very, very steadily have been moving forward this season under Nathan Jones. And they have now been coupled up, as you can see there, with Watford joint in 14th place there. Watford dropping off. It's a bit of a decoupling for Watford from one group of 2 teams to a coupling now with Charlton. So we get the Charlton move up. I think the Watford move down is probably, it's down to 2 things. One is they've decoupled with 2 teams because of those 2 teams, not because of what Watford has done. And 2, we had the managerial change, and Watford were artificially high at the managerial change, weren't they? They just literally scored 7 points across a 3-game week and then sacked their manager. So it was a bit of a hodgepodge of information there as it pertained to Watford. So I can see that, and Charlton just couple up with the Hornets there. We are going to move now to our top half of the table. And you will have noticed we've only done 11 teams, so we're going to have to deal with 7 now. So it is kind of like 7th down to 13th. But you'll see we do have a tie for 12th. And we've got 1 significant mover, I would say, in this group, and 1 significant faller. Hopefully you will identify Preston North End as our significant mover. And spoiler alert, when it comes to our top 6, say hello to Southampton. Because where are they not anymore? In the top 6 of the betting. So Wrexham and Hull, I think this is fairly simplistic, have uncoupled. Can you uncouple from Watford if there was 3? Doesn't couple have to be 2? Have they unthruppled from Watford? Don't debate that in the chat. I'm just kind of thinking that out. Thinking out loud, in the words of great Ipswich Town sponsor and fan, Ed Sheeran. So Hull and Wrexham move joint 12th. We'll call that top half. Wrexham, like Charlton, have been hard to beat. Hull have been even better than that. Hull have been winning games very, very frequently. I don't know what the exact number is, but I suspect if you froze the final 6 games, you'd have Hull, Derby, Coventry possibly would be the top 3. I can't remember the exact form table, but Hull have been very, very good. And obviously we had issues with Hull, particularly in August. They dropped all the way to 19th with the embargoes and Mr. Ilachali related drama. And then in September, and this was right as the window closed, so where an embargo would probably hurt the most, Hull were actually in the bottom 3. They were 22nd with the market. I think a lot of people were looking at it as owners relegate clubs, chaos relegates clubs. Into Sector 2, says David Brent. And what have you got? People throwing money at Hull to get relegated. Well, Mr. Jakirovic has come exactly the other way, and Hull are moving very, very much in the right direction, coupled up there with Wrexham in joint 12th. And as I said, Preston are our big mover. And in fact, Jacob Preston, they are our biggest climber in the whole division. Now, I know football fans, so Preston fans, I'm sure, will even moan about that. They'll moan about the fact it's taken so long for the market to show the right respect to Preston, who've been absolutely superb this season. But you've got to understand it, haven't you, given how Preston finished last season. People aren't just going to get excited after 5 games or 9 games, but certainly now, after 15, it looks highly viable for Preston, and their move is helped by the switch the other way. It's November. People are now making decisions. They've made a decision on Norwich and Sheffield United to bump them down, and therefore Preston go in exactly the opposite direction. Probably rightly, they move up 8 places into our top 10 now. Well deserved. And Preston, if at game 23 and the halfway point they're still around there, up they'll go even higher. So Paul Heckingbottom doing a great job there. They're tied with Millwall. Millwall, is that a drop down? It's a drop down of 1. And I mean, this is an interesting one because a lot of this, we're looking at teams who have, and we haven't mentioned West Brom yet, or Southampton, etc. QPR, Swansea, we've mentioned a big drop. So Millwall have been pretty solid the whole way. And a lot of their manoeuvring is due to teams either coupling with them and then dropping off, or coupling with them and then going up. But Millwall, 12th, 11th, 10th, 12th, 9th, 10th. So it's kind of gone right the way along now. And Preston have sort of sauntered in behind Millwall to join them there. So it makes some sense to me, despite the fact that you will see those sides in the current Championship playoff picture now. West Brom are also moving down, and we're going a bit slow on West Brom here. They're still 8th with the market, I guess, based on financial power, hierarchy, and probably historical. You know, most people just view West Brom as a playoff-ish side in the Championship, but they're not in good form, are they, the Baggies? And they were 7th last time, and they've moved out to 8th now, where they are coupled with Southampton, and this is a really significant move. Like Norwich and Pompey down into the kind of relegation picture, this takes Southampton out of the top 6. And again, last time we looked at it, it was only 9 games played. We're now at 15, aren't we? And Southampton's start has been awful, to the point that they are the 3rd team we're mentioning here who are looking for a manager. And are they leaving too much gap? The market thinks they're certainly leaving too much gap in terms of the top 2, because they've not even got them in the playoffs. I'm sure a new manager comes in, they win a few games, and we'll see Southampton back into the top 6 in the market, given they are a year 1 parachute team. However, the trend has been, well, not even down. They've just been in stasis down at the bottom half. Little trend up, actually, over the last 2 games. No manager bounce there. Will still going out, and they win the next 2 games. That probably helps the odds, doesn't it? Maybe they'd have moved even further were it not for that quick splurge of 6 points. But significantly, right here, right now, the market does not have Southampton in the top 6. Bristol City have moved up to 7th. They've moved up 3 places, and the Bristol City fans may be a little bit confused by that, given that I'm contractually obliged in any mention of Bristol City to talk about an injury crisis right now, because Bristol City fans tell me that literally every day of my life in the comments. So they're probably thinking, well, why have we moved up? They had a really good 3-game week, didn't they? And then a really bad one, maybe brought about by said injury crisis. But what has happened with Bristol City? And you've got to remember, it's a race. It's a league. You know, if you kind of fizzle out by this much, but certain other teams fizzle out by that much, then you will, you know, by virtue of others, be moving in the right direction. And I think there's a big case for Bristol City. They were, I believe, they were coupled with QPR and Swansea last time, who have, you know, the floors dropped out of those 2. And we've had a big regress on Southampton and West Brom, the 2 we've just mentioned. So that's exactly what's happened for Bristol City. Not much has changed with them other than the availability of said first-team players not being very good, but a regression badly for Swans and QPR and somewhat for West Brom and badly for Southampton means Bristol City are, oh, okay, we're here now. And there they are on the edges of the playoffs. Shall we move into our Championship top 6? Who are our playoff sides and our promotion, automatic promotion winners? And remember, we have had a move out from Southampton. Who will replace them? I think you already know by process of deduction that Stoke City, for the first time this season, replace the exiting Southampton in the bookies and the markets top 6. And not only do they go in there, but it is a leapfrog immediately of Leicester and Birmingham, who are coupled up in 5th place. And we have to mention Southampton when we're talking about this, because last time out it was Southampton coupled with Leicester in 4th and Birmingham in 6th. So we've taken Southampton out of the equation, and we'll talk about, and let's name the elephant. We're talking about Coventry, who have artificially lengthened everybody else's odds themselves. We'll get to that when we talk about the Sky Blues at the end of this list. But a drift to land them on equivalent odds puts Leicester and Birmingham joint 5th. So Bristol City fans get upset if I don't mention an injury crisis. Leicester fans get upset if I do mention the fact that they were charged 6 months ago with a PSR breach. Apparently, I'm not allowed to mention that, and I shouldn't talk about it, and I shouldn't talk about a potential sanction that might go with that charge 6 months ago. So I won't talk about any of those things because I don't want to upset or trigger any Leicester fans in that regard. So I won't mention the Premier League charge, in cahoots with the EFL 6 months ago, and I won't mention a potential sanction that could be having people wavering, hedging their bets on Leicester. I've got to say the on-pitch form has not been good, and a win against beleaguered Norwich has been helpful. I just think we need some clarity with Leicester there, and we do need the players to give a bit more buy-in to Marty Cifuentes. So Stoke, congratulations. They are our most significant movers up here. And I say, first time this season, well played Mark Robins, because Stoke have gone 12th, 11th, 12th, 8th, 8th, and they now move up to 4th. And it's just pure Mark Robins, isn't it? Just super, super consistent, hard to play against, hard to beat. I know they lost the head-to-head against Coventry, but still 12 points off the 6-game block, and some goals started flowing, didn't they, in a couple of those games. Scored 8 in 2 to start that week. They are in a good spot, Stoke, and if they continue doing what they are doing, they will finish in the playoffs. Basic maths tells us that, and Mark Robins has got form for finishing the playoffs because he did that with Coventry. So Stoke replaced Southampton. What will be fascinating is to see what the market will do if Southampton start winning with the new manager. What are we going to do? How are we going to reorder everything else? Is parachute power going to trump an experienced Championship manager in a good moment like Mark Robins? And boring as you may find it, it is as you were with our top 3: Borough 3rd, Ipswich 2nd, Coventry 1st. It's not as you were off the pitch at Middlesbrough, though, because they are our 4th manager. Manager needed club. Empty dugout left. The big handsome smile of Rob Edwards is gone from the North East. He's gone off and taken the Wolves job. So Middlesbrough are very interesting because there is somewhat of a trend down points-wise. I get the argument that is based on 5 wins in the first 6. So you're going to get some kind of trend down. I can get Middlesbrough fans would reasonably come back with that to me on that one. But goals a bit of a drop. Well, maybe goals haven't dropped off. Maybe they were just winning by fine margins in those first 5-6 games, weren't they? But points is a bit of a drop off since the first 5 if you freeze the table after the good run. I think you got Middlesbrough something like 11th. Again, watch the hot takes video. We'll link it at the end of this one. where I will have my facts correct, promise, rather than just trying to remember them 4 days removed here today. So Middlesbrough, yeah, fascinating, but still there, viewed as a better price, and a much better price, I have to say, than Stoke, Leicester and Birmingham. They seem hot for a playoff pick, but the bookies like Ipswich Town still as your second place automatic promotion team to go up with Coventry. The table says otherwise. The form table, you would have Ipswich ahead of Middlesbrough, because for that Middlesbrough trend down, it's 20 points in the last 10 for Ipswich. Remember, if you look at the actual league table, Ipswich have a game in hand, although I do think there's a little gap. So I'm not sure, even if we added 1.5 on for the game in hand, or 1.8 or something, I don't think they move. I think there is a 2-point gap in there. And I guess the thinking is that Ipswich have far better form than Southampton and haven't sacked their manager. They have far better form recently, certainly, than Leicester, who did start well. We're talking about the other year one parachute teams there. And we've got the thing that I'm not allowed to mention about Leicester that might have an issue. And it just feels like a door open otherwise. And Ipswich are kind of the safest bet for those reasons I have just given. However, speaking of safe bets, Coventry City are now odds on to win the EFL Championship 25-26. That is a big move. Coventry have gone over the last 4 videos, 5th, 11-1, 2nd, joint, 6-1, favourites, 12-5. Coventry are 4-5 on now. 5-4 on, 4-5. You know what I'm saying. Use whatever language makes you understand those numbers. But basically, that means the white-hot team here that everybody is loving in the market is Coventry. And, yeah, we can do it the ladder way. That has literally then lengthened everybody's odds, because we look at odds to win the division. And if one team goes odds on, then that means everybody else can forget it. And I get the reason why, sat here right now, that Coventry are odds on. They're well over 2 points. We're going to get 34 from 15. I think they've kept the most clean sheets and scored the most goals. So even very basic metrics like the league table position, goals for, goals against, points per game. I think maybe there's a bit of a coping mechanism going on from fans of other teams who don't quite want to believe that Coventry are the best team in the league, talking about fixture difficulty. And hey, if those people are right, then there'll be some kind of Coventry drop-off before Christmas. Remember, Coventry play Ipswich twice in December, and certainly 4 points for Ipswich in those 2 games, or even 6, would swing things the other way in terms of those, certainly that odds-on price. But you have to understand why Coventry are viewed as by far, at the moment, the best bet to win the division. I think they're 11 points ahead of Ipswich, although Ipswich have that cancelled game at Blackburn in hand to play. That is going to hodgepodge up the Ipswich fixtures. I believe that reorganised game might be immediately before Ipswich play Coventry at Portman Road. I think I am right in saying that. So there are your top 6 players. I can't give you a playoff lineup other than Middlesbrough would play one of Leicester and Birmingham. They'd be at home first. Stoke would play one of Leicester and Birmingham. They'd be at home first. Ipswich and Coventry automatically promoted according to the markets. And I think it's significant. Coventry have gone odds on to win the EFL Championship. Get involved down there in the comments. And this is a lovely one, because you can't shout at me. It's not my opinion. It's the opinion of the bookies and the market. I'm sure football fans will still find a way to get angry about something and shout at me. But I'm just relaying the data and giving you my thoughts on why it is that way. But that is the data. You have your say in the comments. And I guess the big stories there, Norwich and Pompey level there to go down with Oxford and Sheffield Wednesday. Coventry odds on at the top. Southampton out of the top 6. Stoke go in. Can you see it? playing out like that. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video, and as promised, we'll click or we will put up here, we'll put the hot takes video up, and we will also put up Sam Parkin and my chat on the Championship Check-In podcast about those 4 open jobs at time of recording at Middlesbrough, Southampton, Swansea and Norwich.